value. Now let's talk a little bit about dynamic real estate. When I was got my real estate broker's license early on, I remember we managed properties. I managed a racquetball club. In the mornings, we would go out and we would eat at Rutford's restaurant on El Cajon Boulevard. And Rutford's was open 24 hours a day. And I remember marveling to my real estate broker buddies, guys I went to high school with, we all turned out to be real estate brokers, about this guy had it made because he had real estate. Most people have the real estate, they close it down at night, and they don't make any money. Here's this guy, the restaurant is open 24 hours a day. And so he made money on his real estate day and night. Dynamic, right? Not just during the day. 24 hours a day. Condominiums changed the way that we used real estate. Prior to the condominium, it was California Airspace Condominium Law, whatever that was, around 1978, the only way you could divide, prior to 1978, the only way you could divide real estate up, subdivide it, was this way, right? Vertically. And the concept of real property ownership was you owned from the center of the earth, you'll remember this from your real estate principles class, from the center of the earth to the heavens above, except as limited by law. So you bought it, you owned from the center of the earth, you bought your house. So what they did in 1978, they said, what if we could divide it? What if we said you own the land, but it starts 10 feet above the ground? And then you own from 10 feet above the ground to 20 feet above the ground. Then somebody else owns from 20 feet above the ground to 30 feet above the ground. And somebody else owns from 30 feet to California Airspace Condominiums. And that's how condominiums were created. We didn't always have the ability to subdivide real estate that way. We created it. And then they created something called timeshares, where you owned a piece of the real estate or the airspace, but only for a week a year or 2 weeks a year. And now they could sell 52 pieces of that same property, dynamic real estate, giving it new uses. Then we see Airbnb. That's kind of new, but it's not new. They're just renting out a room in the house. You can do it easier now because of the technology, but that's dynamic. And now if you have a house and it's on the beach, maybe you could make more money with the house on the beach, leasing it out to people who want to live on the beach for a vacation, than you can selling the house or renting the house out monthly. So we have new ways to utilize the real estate that's going to give us more utility, more things we can do with it, more utility value. That's going to drive the prices up. Roommates. Used to be we didn't like to take in roommates. I sold and we managed a 10-unit apartment building by San Diego State University a number of years ago. And the kids couldn't afford it. They were 2-bedroom, 2 baths with 4 kids in each one, right? Because they were bunk beds. And it was like living. It was almost on campus. That's why we could do it. It's a beautiful building, right on the street off the campus. And the kids would rent, and they would come together, and there'd be 4 of them in a room, and they would have roommates. But the problem was, what if one roommate leaves? You got to get the parents to sign the document. How do you get new roommates? It was really a hassle to do. Nonetheless, we made more money renting the property that way. But today you can do it. There's websites we showed you that'll actually help you find roommates. Or equity sharing, where now you can buy a property with a group of people. Which, you know what, as property gets more expensive, that's the way to do it. If you can't buy a whole piece of real estate, buy a little piece of real estate. The first piece of real estate I bought with a friend of mine. As a matter of fact, I was a naval officer. I had a job with the U.S. Navy. I had a buddy I went to high school with. I knew that buying a house was a good idea. My parents always bought houses. They always sold them for more than they bought them for. My dad was in the Navy. We traveled around. So when I was old enough, I wanted to buy a house. I was stationed in San Diego. I wanted to buy a house. I didn't really want to buy alone. I didn't want to live alone. I asked my high school buddy, I said, let's buy this house. He said, I'm not sure I'm going to keep my job. I said, don't worry, I got a government job. I'm always going to get paid. And so if you can't pay it, I'll pay it. He said, yeah, but what happens if you die? And then I said, no problem. I wasn't married. My parents didn't need any of my money. I said, no problem. We'll own it joint tenants. If I die, you get to own it. If you die, I get to own it. So we did this. We bought this together, an equity share. About 12 months later, we had another high school buddy. He wanted to buy in, and for $10,000 to each of us, because our property had gone up in value, he gave each one of us $10,000. He now owned a piece of that house. So now 3 of us were living in that house. And then the 3 of us went out and we bought another house, a bigger house, and we rented out the first house. So 3 of us are living in the one house, we're renting out the next house. And we owned that house. We kept that rental for about a year. Then we decided we wanted to buy a car wash business. And so we exchanged out of that rental house and we bought the car wash business. That was 1979, and we still own that piece of real estate in San Diego. We bought the 2 houses next to it. What's the point? With partners, equity sharing. And we had to do all the documents, and it was a hassle, but you know what? It's many years later, and we have a lot more money than we would have had if we had not done this. And today, you can go online and do this because now this equity share is made easier with technologies. So again, it's not new. It's new ways to do it. Sale leaseback. Sell the house. I want to live here, but I want the money, so I'm going to sell my house to you. You want a tenant. Now here's another thing. The guy that buys the house that wants the tenant. Tenants, if they sell the house, you own the house, they're there, they're familiar with it. You don't have to put anybody in it. And when they leave, then you can either re-rent it or sell it. You've seen this co-working spaces now, where in the commercial world, people are sharing working space. Now, this is all about dynamic real estate. Real estate, which was once a static asset, is now becoming a more dynamic asset. We're gaining more utility, and that increases the value. So this is the point. Technology removes much of the friction from the transaction. It was a sale leaseback. So here's a company, Point. And go look at these companies. They're an equity share site where you can go in and get up to $250, no monthly payments, right? Unlock your home wealth with Point, right? You can go in and sell a bedroom, Now, again, I haven't spent a lot of time. I haven't tried them, but you can see the ideas that are out there, and there's a lot of money flowing into, and you know what? A lot of these aren't going to make it. But remember, I say you can make a lot of mistakes with billions of dollars. And enough mistakes, they might go out of business, but not before they put you out of business. Roofstock, they give you a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you don't like it, we'll give you a money-back guarantee. So single families now are becoming the type of investment that institutions are looking for. And so just know that looking at some of these companies. Now, live with roommates, I talked about that. We work for housing. Bungalow. These are some of the sites you can go to. This is a roommate site. Common. It's a roommate site. Co-living is city living made better. Co-living. Shared apartment living. Home share. Star City. So these equities. There's lots of these companies. Is it different this time? I don't know, but there's lots of different ideas that are coming into the marketplace. So this is key. This is what we want to remember about real estate now. Dynamic yield maximization. We have new utility value. That house on the beach might be better utilized as an Airbnb than your home, right? New ways to own by individuals in Wall Street. So now individuals can own, but what if you've got billions of dollars that want to own it as an investment asset? That's going to be competition for you as a homeowner. Also, as a realtor, you're going to have less people to sell to because a lot of the sales are going to take place where one of these large companies sells to another large company, where the portfolios of these companies that own all these assets, where they start selling to each other, which will cut down on the number of individual sales, which will limit the number of sales for the people that sell real estate for a living.